one of the previous CISOs that have been on the show suggested that, well, no CEO wants to be the one that gets hacked now, because it's like everyone now knows, you now know it's out there. Like, it's not
Yeah.
disputable anymore, right? Like, is this going to happen? Can it happen? How big's the threat? There's too many cases of, let's say, ransomware. Let's just start there, like taking down companies. It happens every week. A big company gets taken down. So it's like,
Hmm.
this like you said, right? A bad guy only has to breach you once. You have to breach yourself 100%. You have to protect yourself 100% of the time, every day, every minute
Right.
of every day, so that we can see that there's more interest and demand, because no one wants to, whether it's altruistic or not. Like, no one, number one, no one wants to be the person that gets breached, right? Number two, no one wants it under their watch. And then, of course, it's catastrophic if it happens. Are you seeing more and more like outward investment, meaning people are more proactive? They're like, hey, how do I even make my cybersecurity systems better? Do you see that? Like,
Hmm.
because there used to be kind of like this, like, resistance, almost like, hey, I'm good enough, or nothing bad enough's happened. Maybe if,
Yeah.
like you said, an outside pressure, like an outside investor was like pushing on me, I'm like, well, I guess I'll give Merk a call. But are you seeing more companies proactively being like, I need to up my stack. I need to be better at all times.
We see no shortage of demand.
That's awesome.
Now, the caveat there's always certain industries that may lag a little bit just
Sure.
culturally. There's also individual organizations, regardless of maybe a given industry is very lean forward on cybersecurity. You can still find one just based on that company's culture, leadership at the time, et cetera, that's kind of lost in the woods. There's always exceptions, but there's no question I'd say the trend is continuing upward. I do think there's still now a greater and greater need for especially the non-security leaders in the business to know what good is. Not at a detailed technical level, but at the appropriate level of abstraction. Just like if you're a CEO of a company, like you have an idea of what's good marketing. Like
Yeah.
you have some idea of how you go to your marketing executive and know what metrics you're going to look at that would make sense to you as the CEO to tell you whether marketing's doing their job. Same thing is true for sales. Same thing is true for product and engineering. Why is that not true for security? It is just as critical a part of the business. And so CEOs, other business execs can get really complicated things in their heads. It's not that security is more complicated than anything else they're dealing with. What they need to do is really get now what does good security look like, and security leaders, I'm talking to you if any of you are listening to this, you need to help them and figure out how to talk to them. In fact, why don't you cross the bridge to them first instead of waiting for them to come to you? Now I think it's really not, it's less, to me now the journey is now less awareness that this is important, and now more, how does the board know it's good enough? How does the CEO know it's good enough? How can they tell when it's not and when they need to make a security leadership change like that, just like they would with any other executive? I think now it's that stage of the evolution.
That's pretty interesting. Well, I think you did a really good job of defining that earlier. Like I said, no one has ever come on the show and said our average time from identification to resolution is 21 minutes. I mean, that just seems like an impossibly short time.
That's it. That's even better than average. That's the 95th percentile. So
Yeah.
it is the vast majority of the time. I'm not like a braggy guy. That's not how I tend to roll, but our operators, our platform is
Yeah.
just that good. And so I'm
But
extremely
it
proud of the amazing
it
things they've
it
achieved,
goes to
which
what you were saying before. Like, you don't have to know the ins and outs. If I run a company, I don't have to know the ins and out of everything, but I kind of have an idea of what good marketing looks like, right? Good marketing is going to increase my inbound deal flow. It's going to increase my inbound in calls and inquiries. I know what good customer service looks like, right? Less phone calls coming in,
right.
right? I theoretically should know what good security looks like, kind of like what you said, especially
Yeah,
at
and to
least on
your
an,
point, it can't just be incidents, right? It can't just
yeah,
be hacks. It's got to be what are you looking at before the hack to know it's good before that day comes.
that's
That's
true.
that's the key. And the lens people have used historically is the wrong lens. So how do you get predictive? How do you get forward looking in that domain?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. If I was CEO, I'd want to know, how many things are you assessing at all times? How many things did you identify that you prevent for me?
But let's say you got all these alerts and stuff you're looking at, and you have a team, say you're doing it yourself, which is there are plenty of organizations that do, and they should, and there are plenty of organizations that are good at it. Good for them. That's awesome. As their team is looking at all that signal and making decisions, how are you validating they were the right decisions? And how do you
There
do
you
that
go.
at scale? Like, how are you applying quality control? In fact, if you ever talk to our chief product officer, Matt Peters, like and let him talk about what I'm about to say, he'll take the whole hour just on this. But we've actually, because we have a tech platform that enables it, we're actually able to implement adversarial quality control, which is actually sort of a manufacturing mindset, but we can actually apply that at scale in the technology in order to increase, to drive up that sort of, I said scale, and then quality. Quality comes from, how do you get that inspection, but get that inspection at a rate and size that really gives you transformationally great output. Why do robots help assemble cars? Okay, well, why aren't robots dealing with security signal? There's a number of parallels to what we're doing, and sort of how you might think about sort of at scale manufacturing processes. The parallels are really fascinating.
All right, well, we'll have to get him on the show because that does sound interesting.
You just watch out. He talks about 10 times faster than I do when he gets excited. And so you touch on this one and just step back.
Well,
it's crazy.
Listen, we're always looking for people who want to share some of the technical details of how things work. But yeah, I know our audience will love it. I'll do my best to keep up.
Well, let me know. And actually, if you were interested and we were talking about what does good look like, that's the person that I would say could best really describe in some actionable way for IT professionals. Not just this is IT and data. You don't have to be a cybersecurity sort of specialist to get what he'd be throwing down. It'd be an interesting conversation.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more great IT thought leadership. And thanks to our partners at Salesforce Platform for making this show possible. Go to salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role.